Hey guys, I just watched Becky. I happened to notice as it was beginning that it was a Redbox Entertainment picture. Look at you, Redbox, doing things. I'm just going to read what I wrote about what Becky is about before I get into reviewing it. Becky's about an angry teenage girl whose mother has passed away. Her dad takes her to the family cabin and has invited his girlfriend and her son to the cabin as well to tell Becky that they plan to get married. This makes the already angry Becky even more pissed off. Then some neo-Nazis show up and terrorize the family, and Becky fucks each one up. This is my kind of movie. See, that's what it should have said. The write-up on IMDb, that's exactly what they should have written. I don't remember what they wrote, but that's what they should have written. I actually really enjoy this movie, but before I talk about all the great things, I think I'm going to talk about some of the things that they could have improved on. And then at the end of the video, I do want to talk about some spoilers, so I'm letting you know right now. About 80% of this video is going to be just a review, and then maybe the last 20% are going to be spoilers, but I will let you know when I am going into the spoiler section of the video. I felt like the first act could have developed the characters just a little bit better. I mean, they spent a lot of time showing us Becky being angry about the death of her mother, and that was fine, but as far as the other characters were concerned, I mean, the dad was almost just an avatar of a father. We don't know much about him at all, except for that he lost his wife and he has a daughter named Becky. Also, his girlfriend and her son, I don't even remember what the son's name was, and maybe he had 1 or 2 lines asking about the dog, and that was it. There was not much development, and I feel like when a movie does that, it adds to the impact of things that happen later in the movie, because then you care about the characters. But since we didn't get a chance to really care about the characters when they are in danger later, it doesn't have the same impact. Becky's a psycho, and the movie tells us this in how she expresses herself. It gives us the impression that she's like this because of the death of her mother, but her actions make me feel like she has always been a psycho, and her mother passing away just added to that, because I don't think a parent passing away makes you this vicious. That's the word I'm gonna use to describe her. While I loved seeing her mess up these different Nazis, I felt like even their characters were underdeveloped severely. I mean, they literally could have just been any type of criminals. They don't even really had to be Nazis, and really the only way we even know that they're Nazis because some tattoos they had, and about a line and a half where one of them talks about purebred dogs. Compare that to the neo-Nazis that we saw in the green room and how more developed and fleshed out their characters were. I've literally read worse things on Twitter than what the Nazis in this film spoke, which is kind of messed up when you think about it, because as I was making a note about that thought, I thought about, wow, kids today that are maybe 12 to 14 years old, how many times have they gone online and seen, you know, horribly racist things written, and they just have to kind of deal with that. I'm going to call it trauma. I think it's traumatic to be that age and to see these type of things, because at the age I am, I grew up not having to interact, well, no one has to, but not even having the option of interacting on social media until I was in college. It was almost, and even then, back in my day, we had message boards, and what else? Does everyone remember Television Without Pity? There was a message board you would talk about TV on. We had MySpace, those type of things, and the way the platform of MySpace worked, you weren't really going to stumble upon someone saying something racist that easily, whereas something like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you can just scroll and just by happenstance scroll through racism daily, and that's got to have a psychological toll on younger people, and I just really feel bad about that. That's messed up. It's really to the point that, like, even on Twitter, when someone follows you, you have to go to their page and scroll down and look at their tweets and see, okay, is this person, let me make sure this person is not racist or homophobic or sexist or xenophobic, because I mean, I don't want that type of ignorance and negativity in my life. But the fact that you have to vet people before you can follow them back, that's a thing. I bet you're wondering, why would a racist even follow someone who wasn't, you know, the same race as them? It boggles the mind. It really does. Like, you say these horrible things about Black indigenous people of color, but then you turn around and follow them. And it just reminds me of that scene in Do the Right Thing, when Mookie is talking to Sal's son about how he says all these racist things, but then his favorite people are like Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson and stuff like that, and he's like, oh, but they're not black, they're like more than black. So I'm guessing they must think the same thing. Anyway, that aside, racist sucks. Don't be a racist. And I say all that just to swing it back around to my point that it would have been more cathartic to see these Nazis get messed up if they were more developed and more visceral. Then when they got what was coming to them, you'd really be like, oh yes, I like this. The acting was pretty good despite that. Kevin James, I was really surprised because I'm used to seeing him as the King of Queens. So for him to play a villain, he did a really great job with what he was given. The same thing with Joel McHale. Joel McHale was barely given anything, and he just really made the best out of what little he was given to do. I also liked him in, there was a horror movie he was in. He played a police officer. He had a small role in that, but it was, I want to say he played it mostly straight. I don't recall whether he joked a lot. Oh, I don't remember the name of the movie. Was it I think it was Deliver Us from Evil. I think it was Deliver Us from Evil, where he played a police officer. He did a pretty good job in that. This movie went there with the violence. I mean, all the way there. There was really good gore effects. Each Nazi was eliminated in a different way. Becky's creativity with her fatalities rivals, I would say, like someone like Freddy Krueger in terms of variety. I just really liked her character. I want to knit a hat with ears on it in cosplay as Becky. I think that would be a lot of fun. That said, this movie's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I think that if you're into 70s, 80s exploitation, revenge type movies like Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave, there was a Linda Blair one in the 80s. Savage Streets, if you like Savage Streets, and Miss 45. If you have not seen Miss 45 and you're into revenge exploitation type movies, you might really enjoy Miss 45 as well. But if you like those style movies, I think you might like Becky. Spoiler time, here's your warning. This is the part of the video where I want to talk about some specifics in the movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend you go and watch it and then come back and we'll chat some more about the spoilers. Again, that's your warning, spoiler time. Let's talk about the various ways in which Becky kicks ass. One of my favorites was down by the docks, where she had a board with several nails sticking out of it, and she's beating this dude upside the head with it. That's like, how do I describe? Is it sick that I'm enjoying that? It probably is a little bit weird or sick that I enjoy stuff like that, but hey, what are you gonna do? There's also a fatality with a riding lawnmower that I thoroughly enjoyed. The practical effects done on the I started to say victim because he is a victim, but he was the villain, but he's also the victim. Anyways, this practical effects on his head, or what was left of his head, great. I love to see it. I love to see practical effects. The camera lingered on it for just a moment so you can take it in and enjoy it, because I really hate when they do a really good practical effect but then they flash it too fast and you gotta abuse your pause button to see what they're trying to show you. They let you see it, and I like that. But my absolute favorite was this sequence where Becky is on one side of a fire pit when the fire is going, and one of the villains, the main villain, is on the other side of the fire pit. And what we didn't really get to see, or maybe I didn't notice it, I might have looked down to take notes or something, but Becky had a super soaker and she filled it with gasoline. And so she shoots the super soaker of gasoline through, or it might have been kerosene, not sure, but she shot it through the flames of the fire pit, and then the fire goes from there onto the villain, and it lights him on fire. And that was like probably my favorite sequence of the whole movie. It was a good time for me. So as you can see, you could tell I really enjoyed Becky. Save for the first 30 minutes. I would say the first 30 minutes were a little bit slow moving, and it didn't develop the characters as well as I would have liked to have seen. Had they done that, I think that would elevate the movie even more for me, but they really didn't do that. But all in all, great movie, especially for it to be direct to video. I very much enjoyed it, and I mean, I recommend it, but like I always say, don't take my word for it. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it, and just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Did you see Becky? What did you think of it? Also, do you enjoy revenge exploitation movies, and if so, what is your favorite one from the 70s or 80s, or you know what, 90s too? I think there weren't that many, or they weren't as plentiful in the 90s, but I would love to see everyone's comments on what their favorite revenge exploitation movie is. Oh, also, I've just recently restarted my other YouTube channel. I had another YouTube channel before this one that I used to review reality shows, but then I lost complete interest in reviewing them because you can only watch rich housewives argue about nothing for so long before it just becomes redundant, repetitive, and unrealistic. I just couldn't do it anymore. I tried with Black Ink Crew, and then that got super ridiculous, and then I tried with Love and Hip Hop, and then that got super duper ridiculous. Like I could almost see the script on the screen. That's how bad it was. But I got back into 90 Day Fiance, and I'm going to be reviewing that over there on my other channel. I'm going to put the link over here to watch that if you're interested in reality shows. But other than that, I am back. I'm going to be reviewing more movies. Sorry for the prolonged absence. I was going through things, but y'all don't want to hear that. So, you know, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. I miss talking to you guys, and that's it. Bye.